Hi, everyone. And we're back for, I think, what might be our penultimate Sports Tech Weekly of the year. I'm going to do an episode this week, probably a next week, and that'll be it. And then we'll take a little hiatus for the year end. So, yeah, everybody gets a break from our Sports Tech news over the Christmas period. All right, as always, if you're here for the top 5 news stories in the world of sports tech. And you will notice that I'm here alone once again. Ben is still traveling, and it will seem that he will continue to be that way. Hi, Ashley. Glad that you could join us. If anybody else is here, drop me a line, say hi in the chat. I'm going to kick off with the show. Oh, Ashley's in Dubai. Actually, my grandmom's in Dubai right now. I was in Dubai a few months ago. I don't know if I'll go back there this year. But yeah, enjoy the sights and sounds. Okay, so where are we going to start? We're going to start with the top funding news as always, and this is a doozy, almost as tall as maybe the Burj Khalifa, you could say. This is a big round. Fanatics keeps bumping up the valuation. 700 million they raised after raising 1.5 billion earlier in this year. That was at a valuation of about 27 billion. Yeah, 1.5 billion in March. Now they raised 700 million again at a valuation of 31 billion. Michael Rubin, he is on his way, as he has said a few times, to building SportsTech's first $100 billion company. Yeah, what will they use this funding for? I mean, they've moved clearly away from just a pure play e-commerce company selling sports gear. They have a powerhouse. This article says they have a database of more than 94 million fans. I'd be curious to know the geographical split. I'd imagine most of them are US based. What will they do with that money? Well, Fanatics is gearing up to launch its sports book, its sports gambling platform next year. And it's a crowded space, but they believe they can be the ones to make a difference. And he has said that this business will be $8 billion business for them, sports betting, in 2023. Yeah, big money. Fanatics continues to break records. Next up is Lumin. Anybody who has been familiar with this device, basically it's a kind of like a breathalyzer, but gives you metabolic data to help you improve your gut health and also your health overall. Lumen just raised a nice big round, 62 million. I'm actually really curious about this one. I've been meaning to try this device. If anybody has questions for, no, I can't ask for it for Christmas from the chat. That's a bit much. I will maybe buy for myself over Christmas, but this is one of those devices that I am genuinely curious to try out. Yeah, it offers personalized health solutions. If you're not aware of what Lumen does, you basically blow into this little kind of like a vape, like your cigarette vaping devices, your sticks. So you blow into that, it analyzes from the carbon dioxide expelled your metabolic rate, your gut health. What else? There's a bunch of other data points, and yeah, metabolism essentially, and helps you meet individual weight goals. So based on your metabolic health, it'll give you recommendations. So it's a nice fat $62 million round, and another big round, 35 million. This time for GameOn technology. GameOn is basically a chatbot for sports fans. They have worked with a number of brands. They say working with properties in the NBA, the NFL, the NHL, and with FIFA. So I don't know if they're actually World Cup. I didn't see any news about them there, but they've raised a nice $35 million round. In fact, it was a big week. Like SportsTech is ending soon. super strong. Yeah, I can pull up. I didn't have to feature, but I'll just drop you some news about other funding rounds that took place. A 3D digital venue, good friends of ours, they raised 2.5 million. Gold Play did an undisclosed round. There were a few that I saw. Maybe I had one or four, but yeah, there were like a bunch of like 5-6 million rounds. Yeah, Gold Play, 3D digital. I mentioned already. Yeah, anyway, it was a big week for SportsTech. I'm trying to fish out details, but instead, I will come back to the news. Okay, so that was our top funding rounds. Next up, we have a Sports Startup Cup, a competition launched by GSIC. This is in Singapore. This they call the International Sports Groundbreakers Challenge. They call it the biggest, largest startup challenge in APAC. Interesting for startups that are interested. Its applications are open, I think, till somewhere in Jan. I'll show you the timeline slide. What's most interesting, yeah, applications are open now. They have these problem statements, yeah, which are there below on the website, groundbreakers.sport-gsic.com. And who are these problem statements from? Well, some pretty names. This website is a bit annoying. But yeah, Sport Singapore, Active Singapore, Singapore Cycling. They've got, I saw, yeah, La Liga, the One Championship, Cricket Australia, Super League Triathlon, Real Madrid Next, the Fundación de Atlético de Madrid. So they've got some pretty big names to come in and participate in this challenge. Basically, they present problem statements, and you can apply to solve their problems. And I think if you get it, you get to go and solve a problem. One of these companies, all based out of, well, the challenge is based out of Singapore. Their initiative with Sports Singapore. All right, that is story number 2. Let's keep going. This is actually a fun little piece. My third story of the week is from Strava. Strava every year releases what they call a year in sport report. So basically, it's just telling us about activity within that year. Yeah, and so how Strava users basically have been using Strava in the year, and Strava has a few 100 million users. I don't know how many they actually get, like, for this report. Like, is it an opt-in, or is it they're just compiling data from all their users? I'm not sure. This is definitely activity data. It's not a survey, which is already good. So it's not subjective. This is objective. But so what does this data show? Well, a few interesting things. I mean, it'll take you like 5 minutes to go through the whole report, at least this link. But the first thing, something as simple as training alone versus training with a group of people, it's pretty clear. Let me see if I can make this visible. I hope it's more visible now. Just zoomed out a bit. But basically, so if training is the baseline, if you train with 2 people, what is your increase in training? If you train with 3 people or more, what is your increase in training? And they look at your increase in training time and increase in training distance covered. So solo versus going with someone straight away increases your training time by over 50%, your distance by also over 50%, but lesser. But with 3 or more people, it more than doubles your training time, but significantly increases your distance. So people go further together, faster. Yeah, is one of the statements. As for riding, they have similar metrics for running and walking and hiking. They talked about, yeah, which routes are significant. Interesting, there are more marathoners today in the world than there ever have been. Post-pandemic marathon boom, also divided by country. So the Dutch have been out and about. Also, I don't think it's necessarily the Dutch who've been out and about. It's people run marathons in Holland, which is interesting. Yeah, actually, I agree. Exactly. I had the same thing. The Strava info was interesting. And yeah, it confirms the importance of training in groups. What else? New sports. What were travel destinations for sports? Canada is emerging. There was stuff around conveyance. What sports grew? It was all adventure sports, alpine skiing and snowboarding. Yeah, actually, really interesting piece. It won't take you too long. I think it's worth. I think the last one maybe I want to talk about is conveyance, which is yeah the rise of e-bikes, people getting out on the road more with e-bikes, and which countries are adopting e-bikes more. Um, I think this is obviously favored towards Europe because maybe have more users in Europe that this data came from, or Europeans also just commute more in general. Americans don't bike as much as their core form of transport. So the Swiss, the Italians, Germans, Austrians, yeah, you can see the North European countries high in the ranks here. Okay, so that is story number 3. Story number 2. Well, we were talking about sports tech in general. We started with some big funding rounds, more accelerators, and it seems like there's the overall sentiment. There is so much positivity. Bloomberg released an article. Oh, excuse me, guys. Sorry, I have a bad chest. Excuse me. I'm sorry. Um, Bloomberg released an article saying that yeah, SportsTech is set to touch $42 billion in the next 5 years. Interestingly, which yeah, I mean, so the baseline right now is 22 billion. That's what it says in 2022, and it's going to touch 42 billion in 2027 over the next 5 years. So a CAGR of 14%, which is not huge, but it's quite nice and healthy. Yeah. And we actually just published our VC report where we said that the total funding for just in the market in 2022 will be about 10 billion. Yeah, it's already crossed 7.5. You already saw I've got another couple hundred, almost a billion already just in today's news. So yeah, there's a lot of money coming into sports tech. So and the market is continuing to grow. This is by a report from Markets and Marks. I tried to download an excerpt. They don't give you too much. They want you to buy the report, which is a shame. You have $1,000 or so to spend. You can go. I think it's more than that. I think theirs is like $2,500 or $3,000, or you could get access to our pro report, €1,000. But we also have a free one which you can download if you're not familiar with it. You can check out our Sports Tech VC report. Maybe I'll pop the link right here. Yeah. So this was our report. The link is on your screen, sportstechx.com/GSTVCR. But this is another one. So corroborate that there is a lot happening in the sports tech market. Okay, I'm signing off with the top story, which is some cool startups. Sports Business Journal and well, mainly Sports Business Journal, but also Sport Techie, I believe, announced their top 10 innovative companies for this year. Yeah, so top 10 cool startups. To highlight, I should name a few. 1 second. Yeah, I know. I'm sorry, guys. That was horrible, but I just had to sneeze. Sorry. Okay, so what are these top 10 cool startups? And I believe this is not ranked in any order. I think it's just alphabetical. So Amazon come first. It's called Just Walk Out. This is their frictionless, no-touch technology that you can walk out of a sports store or a food and beverage store inside a stadium and yeah, literally pick up what you want and walk out, right? Amazon's Just Walk Out is becoming more and more popular. They're in Seattle and Houston for American residents. So maybe take a video and give us a feedback on how that experience has been. Number 2, Breakaway Data, a company that I talked about a few weeks ago. This is the founders, one of the founders I know quite well. They are a data aggregation company, but their whole spiel is that they put the power of the data back into the hands of the athlete. Yeah, so the athlete controls how their information is gathered, and also it moves with them. So they have like a data passport, which an athlete can take with them as they move teams or leagues or countries or whatever it is. And they just announced a partnership with the NFLPA, which is pretty big, and the WNBA. Next up, Crowd IQ. Crowd IQ gives you information on what's happening in the crowd. The camera pans there. So how many people in the crowd, what their demographics are. Sorry, how many people are leaving or entering the stadium at different points in time. So yeah, it gives you some cool data. Eye tracking software, NeuroSync. This is related to concussions. Nextiles, also a company that's been gathering a lot of attention. Yeah, basically smart textiles to track all sorts of data about the athlete. Pixelot, a company that we know well, automated video capture. Proteus Motion, I didn't know about these guys, but essentially it's like really in-depth fitness training data. So if you're weight training or doing different types of training in the gym, they will give you more advanced data than apparently anybody else. I don't know. I could gather that much from the website. Quintar, which is an AR-based augmented reality platform, very cool stuff. Famous Group, which is also mixed reality. They do these really big immersive fan experiences. If you've seen a couple of years ago, the Baltimore Ravens had this huge Raven, or the Carolina Panthers, might have been the Jaguars. Who was it? Was it the Panthers or Jaguars? But they had this huge, let's say, visual effects animal, which is prowling around the field, which is pretty cool. And yeah, so that's the company, Famous Group. And Zipin, which is again, similar to Amazon, checkout free stores and sports venues. So that is SPJ's top 10. And that is my 5 for the week. Not any mega big stories. I think the biggest one was actually arguably the funding round for Fanatics, which has started at the top with 700 million. They continue to grow. SportsTech continues to smash out investment records. We published 7.3 billion till October. There's literally a billion been added this week. 800 million between the news stories that I shared, plus a bunch of other smaller deals. This year, I think we'll pretty easily cross 10 billion, maybe even touch a higher number. Last year was nearly 12. Yeah, lots happening in sports tech. So if you're a startup and an investor, if you're curious to know more, reach out or just drop a line in the chat. All right, that is me done for this week. See you guys